Viewers, come on, bienvenue. Welcome once again to another in the extended series, Resilience 2.0. Stephanie Mitchel Hughes, a lawyer, a mother, and a sufferer of long COVID, has been through what she refers to as a number of hard places. She has been a TEDx speaker, and now she is on a mission to try and highlight what it is that makes us want to continue and be resilient through the hardest of times. Today's discussion is really focused on one point. Have we lost our humanity? And is cruelty the point? Because it seems that some of the measures being undertaken in both our realms, on both sides of the pond, if one would casually look at them without knowing anything else, you'd think that they were cruel and unusual measures. Welcome, Stephanie. Thank you for taking the time out today. Have we lost our humanity?
Sometimes it feels like it, because one of the things that at NAMI and I work for NAMI, and one of the things that I do, one of my responsibilities, is to accompany our program director to something that is known as crisis intervention or CIT training. And it's something that we do for law enforcement to give them ideas, suggestions about how to respond to individuals who are in the throes of a mental health condition, or who may be in the throes of a crisis, and how that things that they may want to do to react to handle and how to approach the situation so that they can de-escalate and find out exactly what's going on and hopefully get the person some help. And so one of the things that we talk about and we say to law enforcement is we ask them to remember their humanity, because in situations like that, and I have represented law enforcement before, I represented them for several years during points in my career as a lawyer, and their training is go in and get the situation under control so that no one gets hurt. And so they see all of the pretty much bad sides, bad areas, people who are doing horrible and horrendous things. And when you see that, or you're steeped in that, if you're a guard in a prison and pretty much nothing around you is positive, it's easy to forget your humanity, to forget that you're dealing with people who are merely human. And one of the things that really concerns me, and I heard this statement last week, that a lot of what we are seeing across the country, across the globe, if you will, is that the point is really not to necessarily accomplish something, but rather the point is to be cruel to people. So the cruelty is the point. The terror or terrorizing people is the point. We cannot allow ourselves to become so hard-hearted, develop such a tough skin, that we stop being or become just sort of completely desensitized to human beings, to suffering, to being able to treat people, remembering to treat people with kindness, and compassion, to remember, tap in and remember that. And the thing is that when we fail to acknowledge, remember, think about our own humanity, we, in essence, I believe, become the monsters that we are railing against. There is nothing. Last week, there were, or no, I'm sorry, it was a week before that, where there were those massive floods down in Texas. And we have become so polarized in this country that there were people who immediately came on social media and talked about, and I don't know if this is true, their perceptions, their experience with the particular camp, that it was a Christian nationalist, white supremacist camp, and all of these things. And I don't know whether any of that is true, but certainly at that moment, when children have literally been washed out of their beds and just washed down, down and through the Texas Hill Country, that is really not the moment to come in and try to start that conversation, because you can, I don't know how you can look at something like that and then not feel deeply for everyone who is involved. Children being ripped away from their parents, children being killed while standing in line waiting for water, albeit in a war zone, but nonetheless, we still have to remember our humanity. We simply cannot forget that. And it just seems as if the period that we are in is one that says we just need to, cruelty is really the point.
That's such a big statement to make, because it makes it sound like it's institutional cruelty.
Mm-hmm. It could very well become that firmly entrenched that we don't see people as human because of their sex, because of their gender choice, because of who they love, because of the color of their skin.
Is this Jim Crow all over again?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether it's, I don't know. First of all, and we've had some conversations offline about this. I don't know that Jim Crow has ever really left, but that's a whole different kind of conversation.
Well, that's
Okay.
Some might,
and so, and Jim Crow has left, but I think that if cruelty is really the point, I will say this: if cruelty is the point, then we have to develop indifference. We have to look at the focus of our cruelty as as inhuman,
right?
As not worthy of care or belonging, because then we can be cruel to them. If they're not human, they don't have a soul, they don't have emotions, they don't have any of those things.
Well, it's a lot easier if you look back to the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. What made it easy for an entire population to allow ongoing inhumanity was to dehumanize. So you dehumanize the blacks, the Jews, the handicapped, anybody who was on the edge of society. You make them inhuman, and then it becomes a lot easier. Yeah.
It gives you your justification.
Yeah, they're not one of us.
Why you have chosen the path of cruelty versus humanity, versus compassion.
Because they're not human, so they don't deserve humanity. I think that's the theory.
And humanity, treating each other as merely human, Demonstrating and showing compassion is not weakness. Some people look at that as soft, as being weak,
Yeah.
as being, sort of a person who can be pushed around.
Right.
But I think, and I disagree with that, because when someone is, when all you see on television and everything that you take in is that a group of people or a person is this way, sometimes, well, no, in the advent of social media as we know it, it is very easy to adopt that narrative. You look at, if you're a person of faith, you look at and read the way that Jesus responded to the leper, to the woman with the issue of blood, to the people who the people who came and rolled the stone away, prostitutes, people, that kind of things. And these would be people, adulterers. These would be people who would be pushed to the margins of society, but Jesus did not do that. When
And
you,
yet,
whatever.
and if I can roll that still forward, and yet
Mhm.
a good majority of the people that supposedly are marginalizing people, black people, Jews, and everybody else,
Mhm.
Muslims, the lot, are supposedly Christian. And supposedly they live by these beliefs that their supposed leader in time, i.e., Christ, who didn't do these things, and yet they are proselytizing that this is the
Well,
right thing to do.
and again, I mean, if you're a person of faith, you read your Bible, you study, you read your Bible for yourself, and what have you. That was not the greatest commandment is love thy neighbor as thyself.
I
So
don't see a whole lot of that happening unless
if
you're
I love
white
my
and middle
neighbor
class.
as myself, if I'm going to love my neighbor, and that doesn't mean that just the people who live next door to me, love my neighbor as myself. I'm going to look at the way that I treat or honor myself. And I'm going to treat and react and respond to people in the same way. I'm not going to vilify or villainize or stamp people as inhuman if they have a disability,
Yeah,
if they have a mental
hang
health
on a
issue.
moment. You've got a leader supposedly of the free world, supposedly an ally of the church, who does precisely that demonstrably. There's videotape of him
Mhm.
taking the Mickey out of somebody who is disabled. There's he treats women like second class humans, like objects,
Mhm.
and the people that follow him quite readily say that that why can't we bring back slavery? This is a I've seen this even brought up on Reddit. Is this the wrong time to talk about bringing back slavery? Yeah,
Mhm.
what's going on?
Well, the one thing that I will say is this. At some point, we all must stand before in my case, our creator, and give an account for what I have done in my life.
Yeah, but we should be
Nobody
doing that
else,
now. We should be doing that now, not waiting
nobody,
till that
no,
point.
nobody
Yeah.
else, nobody else. But if I'm just going to take, because I don't discuss some people. I don't. That is not the purpose of
No,
this particular platform, and it's not
sure.
what I feel led or called to do. But at the end of the day, we have to. Each of us will give an account for what we did on this earth. Nobody will stand next to us or in our place We cannot blame anyone else for what the choices and decisions that we made.
Okay.
And that no one is exempt from that.
Well, yes, but I would suggest that people should really start taking account of all the things that they've done themselves now, and look at it now. Don't wait until that time till you're judged. Judge yourself right now. Are you
Mhm.
treating other people fairly? Are you dealing with them as humans, or are you pushing them to the edge of society, treating them as if they were either chattels or insignificant objects that you could either
Or disappearing them,
or
or killing
disappearing
them
them?
and saying, oops, that was a mistake.
Oh, well, that's all right. It's only a mistake. There are bound to be mistakes in the process. No, no. Where's your humanity? Where? No,
I
no,
just
no.
think it's a
I don't wait
question.
until on Judgment Day. I need to do it now.
Well, and I happen to agree with you. And even if I find myself getting a little bit jaded, I have to hold myself to account and ask myself that exact same question, because I don't want to go through this life carrying, being like this hard-hearted person and failing to see my fellow human beings, failing to see them as merely human. There's this quote from the brilliant Brian Stevenson, who is the founder and president of the Equal Justice Initiative down in Montgomery, Alabama. And he has spent a lot of his legal career representing people who were on death row and were also facing very harsh penalties, if not the death penalty, and very harsh realities. And one of the things that he has said is that we are all more than the worst thing that we have ever done. And I wrestle with that statement. I wrestle with that because representing children, as I have done, children who've been abused and neglected, and also representing the police officers who I met and who I got to know. One of the things that I heard from each of them at some point was the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So that means that none of us we're not capable of change. But the statement that we are more than the worst thing that we have ever done is hopeful. It says, I do have that capacity to tap into my humanity and change my behavior, because what I did was so horrendous, so wrong, so destructive. Regardless of which side you come down on, my only point today is to don't forget your humanity.
Well, hang on. To not forget your humanity, you have to hold all humans in equal value. And this
Or
is where the problem.
at least remember, stop, don't allow yourself to become so immersed in harsh, cruel behavior, responses, reactions. Don't allow don't succumb to that, because cruelty is not the point. Cruelty cannot, on this earth, cannot become the point of what we do. Because what'll happen is we will be essentially we'll wind up in what is this, Lord of the Flies?
Well, yes.
type
Yes, it is.
of situation that we have here.
It's the herd mentality where
Mhm.
where somebody at the top who's loud says, treat them like insects.
Mhm.
That's fine. You go ahead and do that. That's I give you license to do that. And the others go, well, if he says so, it must
Or
be.
capture the flag, or no, we are better than that. That's
I, I
ultimately what I'm
I
saying.
used to think so, and I want to think so. I'm pleading with my fellow humans to try and find those values that we are proud of as humans. I mean, forget that I'm British. There is a proud, to my mind, stream of consciousness that has gone through humanity, where the only time we make progress with the way in which we deal with each other is when we recognize certain inalienable truths that black, white, yellow, brown, green, purple, or blue, I don't care what your skin color is or your derivation, if you're striving towards an end goal, whether it be business, humanitarian, even religious, I don't care what it is. If you're striving and you're looking for help, then all tides raise all ships. And if we can together realize that we are all just ships in the night and we all need equal levels of help, then we can help each other. If you think that some ships are worth burning, whereas other ships are worth helping, then there's no hope for you in my mind. We are all equally supportable.
Well, and I think that one way of kind
Am I
of
just an old hippie? Is that what's
no,
going
no,
on here?
I don't think so. I don't think that humanity, being human, is I don't even know what these words even mean anymore. They've been misused. Progressive, liberal, conservative. I really and truly don't
None
know
of that
what
makes
any
any
of it
sense to me anymore, especially when you guys over there mean completely different things to our. We thought the words meant the same thing, but I mean quite different things here. To my mind, if you're going to be wanting to preserve your way of life, you've got to realize that part of preservation is innovation. And to innovate, you've got to allow people to stand on the shoulders of others. Now, if you're picky and choosy about who can stand on whose shoulders, then there's always going to be a very biased mentality about the way in which we move forward. If we want to move forward and we want to allow the visionaries of our times, black, white, yellow, green, blue, or whatever, or
is.
brown, to flourish and allow us as a race to still be here in 1,000 years, in 10,000 years, the only way we're going to do that is we treat each other with a basic level of respect. And to my mind, I thought that is the mark of supposed first world countries, that we realize that all of our occupants, all of our citizens are equal and the same under the eyes of the law, if not God, and that the way to progress is that we support each other as a whole. But the trouble is, the divisive members of society who are trying to divide and conquer are doing things over there and saying, look at all those brown people doing this. Look at all those yellow people doing that. Don't look at what we're doing. Just look at them. Look at them over there. The Mexicans doing this. And
Well, see, but okay. So what I'm saying though transcends all of that. It transcends all of that. It is a basic you, me. It's basic human interaction. And
yeah,
so this is the quote that I really want to end on. This is from Thurgood Marshall. In recognizing the humanity of our fellow human beings, our fellow beings, we pay ourselves the highest tribute. Um, that's it.
recognizing humanity.
Right.
Well, it's critical for our onward existence.
Right.
The more that we marginalize, the more that we ghettoize, the more that we try and separate, divide, we end up ruining the whole. It's the quickest way to spoil the cake, is by adding odd, weird components and pushing other bits to the away from the core. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I hope all of you watching and listening, I know there are plenty of you, take this to heart. We are all humans, and to preserve humanity and to ensure that humanity keeps moving upwards rather than sideways or downwards back to the dark ages, which I think there are some groups of people that would like to take us back to 100 or 200 years ago. You know, when women stayed at home and respected their men, and men went out and we need to maintain our social evolution, and the only way we can do that is treating each other with love, respect, and honor and dignity. And as I said, I hope I'm not just being an old hippie. I want us all to love each other and to work together to a brighter humanity in the future, and not to try and descend into chaos and evil, which I think is what happens when you divide.
And just don't be cruel. I mean,
you don't need to be cruel. It is a choice.
Cruelty cannot become the norm, and it cannot become the point.
No.
So thanks everybody for listening.
And until next time,
I guess.
Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and please try and look after that mental health. Until next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.